When Cyberpunk 2077 was announced, it was shown as a promising game, a game also developed by CD Projekt Red, the studio behind one of the greatest RPG games ever, Witcher 3. The game trailer shows a large, immersive city named Night City, waiting for players to explore and dominate. With a surprise, Keanu Reeves plays a huge role in the game.
Up, samurai. We have a city to burn.
Much of these brought the hype of gamers all over the world. But as the game released, the overwhelming amount of hype turned into universal disappointment. So what went wrong with the game? Many gamers have expected Cyberpunk 2077 to be one of the biggest games of the decade. With a development time of 10 years and constant delays, many would expect the game to come out perfectly and impress many. Instead, it did the complete opposite. Gamers who were hyped for the game were given an unfinished game, full of game-breaking and annoying bugs and game crashes, as Cyberpunk 2077 was released on previous generation consoles Xbox One and PlayStation 4. Many playing on those platforms found themselves unable to play the game properly at all, causing the huge amount of disappointment with CD Projekt Red across the internet and the large demand for refunds. The game was so much of a mess that even refunds were given for free, and a public apology was delivered by the CEO of CD Projekt Red himself, promising quick hotfixes to bring the game's playability back. Many have responded to the public apology negatively, criticizing CD Projekt Red and commenting on their greed. It was as if it's to the point where the game cannot be revived. While it is certain that people won't be getting Cyberpunk 2077 due to the negativity surrounding the game, as things calm down and people have moved on, CD Projekt Red never gave up on the game. Updates to fix the game-breaking bugs and crashes were dished out one by one in a period of time. Although the game was mostly fixed a few patches later, the game has lost most of its popularity due to its disastrous launch, and gamers who were originally interested had also lost their interest. This went on for almost 2 years until an anime series made dedicated to the game, Cyberpunk Edgerunners, was released. Cyberpunk Edgerunners ended up being very favorable. Even becoming one of the most watched animes on Netflix, this brought many viewers' interest to the world of Cyberpunk 2077 and into Night City, and gamers started picking up Cyberpunk 2077 to see what the world is about. The game even broke 1 million active players for 4 weeks in a row. The anime has single-handedly revived the game back to its supposed state, with the release of patch 1.6 coming out right at the time, fixing the rest of the bugs players experienced, though the game was still missing much of its promised features, and of course much references of the anime was added into the game as players looked into them, remembering the scenes from the anime and paying their respects to David. It is undeniable that much parts from the anime were memorable and left us with a sense of sadness. In September 2022, CD Projekt Red announced a whole new DLC for Cyberpunk 2077 titled Phantom Liberty, as V, your cyberpunk character, becomes a spy and go through series of missions in Dogtown, including saving the President of the new United States of America. The 2.0 update was released on September 21st, and the Phantom Liberty DLC was released 5 days later. Since then, the amount of concurrent players have gone up rapidly, reaching up to 300k Steam concurrent players at its peak. After the DLC update for Cyberpunk 2077, the game also reached more than 25 million sales and 3 million separate sales for the DLC. Due to CD Projekt Red's continuous support for the game, even after the disastrous launch, it is clear that Cyberpunk 2077 has made a huge comeback. Cyberpunk 2077 may have released as a mess, but let it be a lesson for future video games that they should not be released in an unfinished state. If Cyberpunk released at a complete state, it might reach even twice of its current sales. CD Projekt Red has spent over 120 million in order to revive the game, and it worked, going from Edgerunners to 2.0 and Phantom Liberty, and at last, a future upcoming Cyberpunk 2077 live action. The content updates for the game may be finished already, but we cannot forget that it is still missing much of the promised features, such as a rideable metro transport system. And, obviously, we also cannot forget how buggy the initial game launch was and the still not improved AI in the game. As for the final question, is the game finally worth getting? My answer got to be yes, as the trailer for the DLC said,
The game is fixed.
I rarely encountered any bug during my gameplay, and the game did not crash at all, though that is not the same for everyone. Overall, Cyberpunk 2077 is a fun adventure to the futuristic Night City and its great world building. Now that a sequel for Cyberpunk 2077 got a confirmation, we can only hope that CD Projekt Red will learn from the messy launch of Cyberpunk 2077 and take their time with the game before releasing it. In this current day, it is rare to see modern games to be released in a complete state. Cyberpunk 2077 may have made one of the biggest comebacks of all time, but unfinished game releases are unacceptable and are practically a scam. To avoid another similar release, gamers need to stop pre-ordering and overhyping games. Instead, we should wait for actual reviews regarding the game before purchasing. To end it off, remember to forgive but not forget. Cyberpunk 2077 may be great now, but it was a total disaster at launch. A launch that affected the developer's reputation so much that death threats were sent. And it was to the point where many still cannot bring themselves to trust CD Projekt Red even after the game fixed. After all, gamers should not encourage waiting for 3 years before finally seeing the company turning over a released but unfinished game into an only mostly finished game. We can only hope that the gaming industry learned after the Cyberpunk 2077 disaster. If you enjoyed this video, like and subscribe, and I hope this video helped you to decide if it's good for you, pick up the game or not. Thanks for watching.